So today we're going to be talking about how to find the surface area of cylinders. Now you already know how to find the surface area of prisms, and technically cylinder is a prism because you've got the same shape on the top and the bottom. But I wanted to make it a separate day because there are some funky things to it that I want you to keep separate from what you learned about regular old prisms. So your job today is to use the formula to find the surface area of right cylinders, and they're all going to look something like this. So let's remind ourselves what a cylinder is, of course. It is a prism, and both bases are circles. That's what makes it a prism, is because both top and the bottom are the same. Now let's also refresh our memory how we find the surface area of any prism that we learned yesterday. So it's going to be 2 times the base area plus the perimeter times the height. Okay? Now this base area is where you find the area of your base, of course. So for our cylinders, for our B, we're going to do pi r squared. You guys remember that from our area discussion, pi r squared? Hopefully you do. So in order to find the base area, so the area of your base, which is a circle, we're going to have to plug this formula in for base area. Okay? That's why it's a little different than the ones we did yesterday. Now for the perimeter, let's talk about that for a minute. We do have a formula to find the perimeter of a circle. So that means the distance around this circle. And that's going to be 2 times pi times r. Okay? So you've got 2 formulas here that are going to go into this formula. So that's why it's a little funky. So the reason we can use this formula for this type of cylinder, it's a right cylinder. There's a little base down here that you can't see, that you're going to have straight up and down. You're going to form a right angle there. So this line right here going throughout the entire cylinder is going to be the height of the entire cylinder. And then remember, in order, both of these formulas that you're using within the formula have the radius. Remember, the radius is just half of this circle. All right. So we're still using this formula, you guys, 2 times base area plus perimeter times height, but I wanted to break it apart so that way you guys know what goes into that formula. So since it's a prism, we're still using the same formula you used for all of your prisms to find surface area, but let's break it apart. So we're going to start with 2. We have 2, remember, because we have 2 bases. So we're going to start with a 2. Oops, I meant to change colors here. Okay. Now the base area, which we talked about up here, the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared. So for the big B, I'm going to do pi r squared. Okay. Plus the perimeter. So the perimeter of a circle is going to be 2 pi r. And then times the height. So pretty lengthy formula for our cylinders. So hopefully you're getting that this is our formula, and then if you break it apart to see the big picture, this is really what you're doing for every cylinder. Okay? So lots to remember, but if you break it apart, it should be not so bad. Okay? Remember, the height is going to be that perpendicular distance from the top to the bottom. So this distance right here. All right, let's do some practice. We've got 2 right cylinders down here that we're needing to find the surface area for. So we're going to use this formula, and I'm going to really focus on this because this is the broken down every single step type of formula that we're going to use. So let's find let's start our formula off. So 2. And then I'm going to find the area of each circle. So my area of my bases here. So I'm going to start with pi. And then I'm going to look for my radius. I need to do radius squared. So my radius is right here. So I'm going to do 4 squared Okay, so got that, plus my perimeter. So my perimeter is going to be 2 pi times my radius again. So notice I'm using that multiple times. And then times the height. So the height of my entire cylinder is 5. So I'm going to multiply everything by 5. Okay? So that's the trickiest part, is getting it into the formula. So now let's go ahead and solve. And now when you're solving things with pi like this, notice how we have 2 pi's. It's going to get crazy if you calculate pi right away. So notice what I do with pi when I'm calculating it, and that will make your life so much easier towards the end. So let me kind of show you here. So I'm going to start with my parentheses. So what I can simplify in here nicely with my calculator is 4 squared. Either you know that in your head or go ahead and type it into your calculator. So what this is going to simplify to be is 4 squared is 16. So I'm going to write it like this, 16 pi. Kind of like I would write if this was a variable. So 16 pi. All right, simplified that. Plus, now 2 pi 4, I'm just going to, this is all multiplication. So I'm going to do 2 times 4 and simplify it that way. So I'm going to get 8 pi and then times 5. Okay, so no, I'm just simplifying as much as I can. Now what I'm going to do is multiply here, because this is all multiplication as well. So I'm going to do 2 times 16 pi is going to give you 32 pi's plus, and then I'm going to do 8 times 5. So that's going to give me 40 pi. So again, just simplifying as I go. Now your final step, remember, act like these are variables. Okay, act like the pi's are variables. So it's like these are x's. Okay, if I have 32 pi plus 40 pi, how many pi do I have all together? I'm just going to add them up. So 72 pi. And if you remember from yesterday, surface area and area is always units squared. Okay, so kind of lengthy, a little bit to think about, but as long as you stay organized and you write each and every step, simplify as you go, not too shabby. All right, let's try one more together. If you want to pause me here and see how you do on your own, feel free to do that and then check your answer as you are finishing or if you get stuck. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my formula. 2 times the base area plus perimeter times height. So I'm going to start with a big old 2 because there's 2 bases. I'm going to find the area of my circles, so my base area. So I have pi times my radius is 6. So pi 6 squared plus, now I'm going to do the p, the perimeter. So I'm going to have 2 times pi, and then my radius again is 6, times the height. So the height of the entire cylinder is 9. All right, now my job is to simplify. I'm going to simplify what's in the parentheses first. So I have 6 squared. So 6 squared is going to give me 36. So I have 36 pi. Notice again, I'm writing that pi behind the number, just like I would a variable. Plus 2 times 6 is going to give you 12. So 12 pi times 9. All right, now I'm going to go through and simplify what's in the parentheses times the number outside. So 2 times 36 would give me 72 pi plus 12 times 9 is going to give you 108 pi. So my final step is I'm going to combine, just like if these were variables. So I do 72 pi plus 108 pi. It's going to give me 180 pi. And since it's area, I'm going to do meters squared. So notice too that I did not press the pi button in any of my problems. I'm leaving it in terms of pi. So that's because it's going to give you a really funky decimal if you calculate pi. So this just makes it easier. But do not forget to put the pi. That's a very important part of our formula. So you need to make sure that's in there. All right. So you're going to do a bunch of practice with this. Take your time, show all your steps, and remember to simplify as much as you can.